Hi everyone, my name is Brady Keene. And I am a clinical assistant professor at Keene State and the supervisor for WorkWise NH at Keene State College. Today I'm going to walk you through a training for our PDC that we're hosting this year. And this training is specifically targeted for uh, moderators of the PDC. It's not necessarily designed for our speakers or our attendees. Speakers might be interested in some of these tools that I'm about to show, but I did create another video for our speakers to know the basics for what you will need during your presentation at the conference. So for moderators, there's going to be a few critical tools that you guys will have to understand and be able to use during the presentations that you're moderating for. First, I just want to go over some really basic stuff, and we're going to get into some more advanced stuff as we move along here. But let's start with the basics. Most of this y'all probably already know. Sorry if this is a repeat for you, but I want to just make sure that I'm covering my bases and everyone knows everything. So basics here, bottom left-hand corner, you can see on your screen right now, you see a mute button and you see a stop video button. If you want to stop your audio, if you want to stop your video at any time, you can see your video disappears and your video will stop. I would recommend muting yourself, both audio and visual, during presentation so it's not a distraction to the speakers or the attendees. Now, if you are unsure which microphone you would like to use that day, you can actually click on this little caret next to the microphone and select which microphone you would like to use or which speaker you would like to use. If you would like to test your speaker and microphone prior to the meeting actually taking place or the speaking session taking place, you can click on test speaker and it'll bring up this little box that you saw on the bottom left-hand corner that will test your speaker and microphone for you. Some other really basic features I want to just talk about briefly is changing your name. So if you click on this participant button, this one right here, it's going to bring up the tab that you see on the right-hand side. If you hover over your name, you can actually click on More, Rename, and you can type in your name. So whatever your desired name is, whether it's a nickname or your full name, you can place that in that little box and it'll change it for you. I mention it because a lot of times it starts, or a Zoom meeting will start with your first initial and last name, or maybe it says company person one or whatever it may be, and you can change that so it represents your full name or nickname, whatever you would like. The next thing I want to go over is backgrounds. And this can be found in the video settings. So if we're looking towards the bottom left-hand corner of our screen again, the little caret that's next to the video, you're going to see a few different settings that come up. Similar to the microphone caret, you're going to be able to select which camera you would like to use. So on my computer, I have two cameras that I use. I use a Logitech most of the time that shoots high definition, or I have an integrated camera in my laptop that I can use. You can switch to whichever one you're comfortable with that day. It's up to you. To change your background, though, you can see it says choose virtual background here. You click on that. And you can select for a variety of different backgrounds that are predetermined by Zoom. Some common ones people use are the bridge, the grass, the earth, northern lights, beach scene, or you can upload whichever file you would like for your background. So for me, I've uploaded two of my own personal backgrounds. This is just a general wall that I took a picture of, and I just uploaded it to Zoom. And this is one I downloaded off the internet. So you can see it looks like you're sitting in a glass room in the mountains. To add your own background to this, you can click on the little plus button here, add image, and it brings up your computer's file structure so that you can select the image that you want. Now, backgrounds aren't required, but it is recommended, strongly recommended that you do it. That way it's not providing any distraction to the attendees or the speaker during the time of the presentation. Moving on, we're getting into more advanced buttons here. We're going to move into screen share. So in order to share your screen, we are going to click on this little green button here, and up you will see a tab that pops up or another box. So this box will appear and it will show all of the different screens that you have up on your computer right now. So you can see I have a few different things open, Microsoft Teams, I have Kaltura up, I have Microsoft Word, but more importantly for the presenter, you can see the presentation. Now you can select that screen in which you want to share, right? So you're just going to click on it. It'll highlight itself, good to go. But you have to remember one thing. If you have a video or if you have any sort of audio in the presentation, meaning the presenter, they want to make sure that they click on Share Computer Sound. So if one of your presenters forgets to click this, it will not project through the speakers for the attendees. So you may need to help them out here and back them up into the Share Screen option where they can select Share Computer Sound. So once that box is shared, or excuse me, clicked, you want to click Share. And up in front of you, you will see the screen is shared, and you will see when I play this video, it'll produce audio.
What we've learned in Ebola outbreaks is you need to react quickly. You need to go after the virus.
So I'm not sure if you can hear it on your end because of the screen capture software that I'm using, but it is playing audio, and it will play audio through the speakers of the attendees. To get out of a screen share, you're going to see in the top of the corner, or excuse me, the top of the screen, this green and red box here. One of them says stop share. You can go ahead and stop your share if that's what you would like to do. Now, if the presenter wants to take a second to have a face-to-face conversation with the attendees, they can actually just click on pause share, and that actually stops the share. You're not going to be able to see it on my screen because I'm a host, but on the attendee's screen, you'll see the presenter. If the presenter wants to go back into their presentation, all they have to do is click on resume share. And now we're presenting again. Some other features here for the presenter is the annotate button. So they can click on this button and they can select a number of different things if they want to type on the screen, if they want to select something, if they want to draw, whatever it may be. More important thing that most presenters forget about is the clear button. In order to get everything off of the screen, you have to make sure that you click on the trash can, clear all drawings, or they can select which one they want, but I usually do clear all drawings. If you don't do that and switch your slides, the drawings actually stay up on the screen. So I'm just going to get out of this. The way you do it is press on the little X there, and I'm actually just going to stop my share like the presentation is over. So now you can see we're back to our regular Zoom screen. Typically we would have a bunch of attendees on here, but I'm by myself, you can only see me. The next thing I want to go into is some of the features that you're going to have to be acutely aware of. So the things that I've gone over are things that the presenter should know, but you want to know just in case they have some problems. The following are things that are specific to you. One of the most important things for a moderator is to see the chat bar. So in order to get to the chat, you're just going to click on the little chat icon. Up comes this tab on the right-hand side of your screen. Now, you can send chats to individuals or you can send chats publicly. Now, typically, I would suggest that you keep chats open and open only for the public during presentations. And the way that you can change that setting is clicking on these three little dots in the bottom right-hand corner. You can see here participants can chat with and everyone publicly and privately, host only, or no one. You want to make sure that you have everyone publicly here. That way people can't chat between each other unless you are open to that. It's completely up to you. But anytime anyone wants to speak, it is to the group publicly. This is where they can put their questions in here and you are able to ask those questions to the speaker when they're open for questions. So you're in charge of monitoring all of the questions that will feed into this chat window. If you want to send a chat to everyone or an individual, you can select everyone, or if we had attendees in this meeting, you would be able to select their specific name. You type in the little bar and you can see it pops up, hello. And you will see a bunch of messages come in there typically. Typically they're questions that are being asked of the presenter. Like I said before, at the end of the session when they're open to questions, you can then transfer those questions to the speaker, or if there are immediate questions that need to be asked, maybe you could interrupt the speaker and ask them. Some other features that I would like to show you is through the participants button. So we're going to get out of the chat window here, just close out of that, and we're going to click on the participants button. This is a really important button for you to understand. From here, you can invite support, so our support staff, whoever that may be for the conference, you can click on invite. and you can go into your email and shoot them an invite indicating to them that you need help in your session. So if you run into problems, you click on invite, default email, it'll open up your email and you can actually just shoot them an email with that invite. And this is what it'll look like when your email opens. So that's number one in the participants. The other thing that you'll see in here is the ability to mute all. So say you have some people in here that are not cooperative, maybe they're loud, they didn't mute themselves. You can actually mute everyone in the group just by clicking mute all. And you have the option to say whether or not people can unmute themselves. So if you don't want to have anyone talking during that session, you click mute all and you unselect that little box there. That will not allow people to unmute themselves. If you're open for conversation with that speaker, you can actually select allow participants to unmute, and they can unmute themselves for questions. Now, at the end of the meeting, you want to make sure that everyone can actually talk. So we want to make sure that if we do mute everyone, we go back into this tab and we make sure that box is selected so that people can talk at the end of the session. What else? To mute individuals, again, is in the participants button. You can see my name up here with a mute button next to me. Unmute if you choose to. Now we're going to jump into security settings, and this is probably the most important part of why you are moderating. Not only the introduction of the speaker, but making sure that the speaker's session goes smoothly. And the biggest interruption that we can possibly have as a speaker is people Zoom bombing. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with that term, but essentially it's when people jump into the Zoom meeting when they're not supposed to be in there and cause a disruption, whether it's by playing music, whether it's showing images that are inappropriate, talking inappropriately, all sorts of stuff has happened. So these are some steps that we can take in order to prevent Zoom bombing and to eliminate the Zoom bomber from the Zoom meeting. So the first thing we've got to go into here is the security settings. The security settings have a number of features that allow you to control Zoom bombers. The one that I like to use the most is lock meeting. So if you click on this, you'll see you have locked meeting, no one else can join. So if you have a Zoom bomber come in and you kick them out, which I'm going to show you how to do shortly, they can no longer come back into the meeting. Now, you want to make sure this is unchecked when people are coming into the meeting, but feel free to lock the meeting if you so please when everyone is settled or if you encounter a Zoom bomber. The other thing you want to make sure of is that you enable the waiting room. So if it's not already pre-selected for your meeting, you want to enable it. And what this allows you to do is come over to the participant window, and next to the person's name you'll see the more button, and unfortunately because I'm the only one in this meeting it's not going to show it, but here you're going to see a place in waiting room button. So let's say that someone continuously is disruptive, continuously unmutes themselves and leaves it open. You can go into the participants tab, so you click there, you go to more, and here it will say put or place a participant in waiting room. Once they're in the waiting room, they cannot come back into the meeting. So if we have a Zoom bomber, they come in, you can select who that person is, and you can place them in the waiting room, and there they shall remain. So the other thing that I wanted to mention in the security tab is the chat features and the unmute features. So if you don't want people to chat at all during the presentation, then you can deselect that or deselect it. That'll just eliminate chat altogether. I wouldn't recommend doing this unless you have a Zoom bomber putting things in the chat. The other one is unmuting themselves. So when you click on that security tab and you unselect that unmute yourself button, people, once they're muted, they cannot unmute themselves. Which is nice because if you do have a Zoom bomber and you mute them, they can no longer unmute themselves and be disruptive. But if you're open and willing for participants to participate in the presentation, I would recommend just keeping that checked off. And with that, I believe I've covered just about everything. I'm sure most of you know all of this already or have some familiarity with it. I just felt as though it was important for me to go over the basics with you. If there's any problems during the day of the event, please just shoot us an email and we'll be right there to support you. If there's any more questions that you have, or if you would like additional help, please feel free to contact me or someone in the group. My email is brady.keene@keene.edu. I'll put that in the chat here for you so you can read it. So you can see right here my email. If you have questions or concerns, please feel free to email me and I can set up some time with you to meet with you. Lastly, I would just like to thank everyone for their volunteering for this PDC. It is a challenge to go virtual all of a sudden, especially for those of us that are not familiar with the virtual setting of work. So thank you so much for your time and effort here, and we appreciate your time trying to improve our profession through this professional development conference. With that, I will end it here, guys. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me or someone on the committee, and we will get back to you soon. All right, thank you so much. Have a good one.